Hello everyone, and welcome back to Coireán, my Irish-inspired N-gauge model railway. So once again, it's greetings from the railway room, and here we have Coireán pretty much as it was left the last time. I have got one or two bits from what I got for Christmas just placed here, and there's a van here that hopefully eventually I'll do some transfers on. CIE snail. I've got an envelope of transfers somewhere, and I'm just going to pop that back there. And so this is where we're at the moment. The newspaper's all down, it's dry, or at least what I've done so far. Hopefully it'll be strong enough when it's had paint and stuff on as well, that I shouldn't need to do any more layers of it. And we have the general look on what it's going to look like. And obviously the brew room will go here, and I'm thinking of having a green here as well, like there is down at the seafront. And I'll have rocks and looks along here and the beach or whatever there. So that's the general idea. And in this episode, hopefully, I'm going to take all these things off the railway. And I've got some green paint here that I got in the works for €3. And that's just going to be my base coat, that's acrylic. So I'll paint all of the areas green. And then when I need to, I'll paint grey on top for roads and yard areas or whatever. So I'm just going to get it as a blanket colour. Everything will look more or less uniform with the track running through it. And then what I'm hoping to do is, and I'm not doing glazing necessarily in the buildings because when I have done it, it's been a bit difficult because, as you can probably see in close-ups of the Novoid, where I have put in windows, they frosted up with the super glue. So I'm not actually bothering with the glazing, but yeah. So I've got the ones that do have their windows are fine, and there are windows and doors in the back of this. But this run of buildings needs windows in the back of it, and so when it's on the street, it's got these sort of grey frontage here. The back of it, I'm thinking of painting the white window frames a different colour and painting this white, sort of as a slight homage to the Butler Arms, which I can't have it on the rail. There's not enough space. So that's the plan, anyways, is to kind of make that side look like that white kind of bit there, and then maybe some sort of garden out behind on this side before the drop. And I'll have to do some rear yards over here at some point. But the idea is just get that green paint down, get it looking not like it's covered in newspaper, and get some work done to the buildings. And I'll see where I get to, I suppose. And I've got one or two new bits of rolling stock to run as well. My friend Larry very kindly bought me for Christmas a nice Western Region coach. And there is a wagon as well floating around here. It's a Great Western one. And sorry to turn away from the camera so much. But it does have some sort of weird sort of knuckle coupler on one end. So I don't know about being able to use that with anything at the moment. But you know, we'll see. But that's a nice wagon. It's got sort of sand load in it or something. So I'll pop that in there. So that's the general idea for this episode, is paint and windows, but we'll see where we get to. So I best crack on. So yes, as you can see, I've got A4 taped around the side. You can see the walls are a bit discoloured, they're a little bit damp. It's been a damp year or two. I'm hoping one day to get these repainted into a nice sort of light sky blue. But for now, I've got these to protect the wall from any green. And then I've got some masking tape here, which I'm going to use to cover up the rails, hopefully. Just to try and stop the paint from getting onto it. But I don't know, because I don't want to ruin the track at the same time. Because this tape is a bit wide for the track base. I don't mind if the bottom of the track bases get painty, but it's difficult with like the corners and things to be going. And to be honest, you know what? I think it would just be the points really that need covering, because they're the bits the important bits. So I'm just going to cover those. I know we're going to try and do the curves. Do it because I want to make sure that I do get enough paint coverage that it looks good. Right, that should hopefully do to protect it. So now I need to get something to put the paint in and find my paintbrush. Right, so I've got my paint. I've got a microwavable mash tub. They're always very good for this. This paint actually seems to have leaked outside of its foil thing. Hopefully it'll be alright. Peel that off there. That's a very bright green, isn't it? Right, I'm just going to put this in the bin and see if I've got something to tone down that green just a little bit. There. Yes, I've got a little bit of black. I don't want to use too much because I don't want it to be too dark. There. Right, we'll see how that goes. And this brush is a bit stiff, but it should be alright. It's just that's a very, very bright green and I don't want it to be too bright. I wanted it to be a more dull sort of colour. Right, this should be pretty good. Oh yeah, it's a nice dark shade. And then any layers that we put on top of it, of grass and whatnot, say over here on the green, those will be lighter colours and you'll have this sort of darker base for anything that shows through. That's working pretty well. And obviously, like I said, I'll have some grey paint where the roads and the yards are. This is just our sort of base layer of paint. I'm not really sure about where I've got bits where this track is meeting the edge of the newspaper, because from where I've been looking, it is pretty much just like a straight kind of gap between it. And I know that there'll be a platform there, but maybe I could stick some clay or some filler in there, because I have Metcalf platforms going in. Maybe I will stick a piece of card along the very edge of that as well, just to make it a nice flat level kind of surface for that platform. Right, enough waffling, and I'll get this painted up. Now, at this stage, I've got some of the back part done. Some of the track bed does have paint on it, and like I said, it's not going to matter too much because it's only at the top of the track bed we need to worry about. There will be scatters and things, and I can touch things up with a bit of paint. I'm not that worried. You know, the whole thing's meant to be fun, and as long as it still works, it's not really that much of a problem. Although I do want it to look good. But knowing what it's like down here, especially at the sides of the roads, when there's a good growing period going on, stuff does get pretty overgrown. So it's not really going to be that bad if I have bits of grass and hedge and stuff growing up by the side of the track, because really it's almost realistic in a way. I have to see if I can find a way to model some gorse bushes on here with their yellow petals, and some bluebells because they come up quite a lot as well. So I'll have to try and get some sort of spring floweriness kind of coming through. So yeah, right, let's keep going. Right, so I'm nearly finished, and it's nice and shiny at the moment. One of the things that I have been thinking is about, when people have asked me before on Beaglington-On-Sea, is about weathering the rails and making them, the sleepers, brown and everything. Now the sleepers are kind of a sort of browny black already. The only thing that might be sort of unrealistic about the rails, really, when it comes to detailing, like painting and stuff, is the fact that this layout is set near to the coast. And so, you know, the rail chairs and those sorts of things and the sides of the rails probably should be quite brown. But, yeah, I don't know if I actually go through all the effort of painting the sides of the rails. I don't think I'm that good a modeller to be able to carry it off in N scale, especially with how finicky things can be in this scale. Maybe it would be a bit more of a group. And actually, do you know what? I've got modeller's license doing this, and it's my creation. So, you know, I'm not that fussed. And there we have it. It's pretty much coated now in its green undercoat. And I think, on the one hand, it looks a lot less defined right now, probably because it doesn't have the buildings on it. But on the other hand, I think it looks a lot better than a whole load of newspaper. Although I do like that stage of it when it's kind of, you can see the way it's coming together. But now we can leave this to dry and move on to something else. So yes, join me on another section of the real world of the inspiration for this railway. And I'm here at Brennan, which is the end of the Valencia Harbour branch from Farranfore. And so behind me, you can probably see there's not much there. But if we look the other way, there is in fact the Quinlan's fish factory. So this occupies the site of the old station. And then if we go around this way, this is where the most westerly railhead in Europe used to be, and where the Great Southern Western Railway's line to Valencia sort of ended, and then obviously you had to get across the water to Valencia. And so I can walk down this way a little bit, and I'll show you the current harbour. You can see the ferry is just leaving there, but we can walk down this way a little bit near to the car park and see. So this is the line it would have come then out from Coireán and around the edge of the Firth River and down to the harbour here at Renard Point, and over there is the Point Bar. So they have a sort of pub, and so we can walk along here, and there's some nice flowers here. And so we go round here, and you can see now, and I think in original plans of the railway, they wanted to have sort of a pier going out because they wanted to be able to have mail ships or something arriving here, but obviously those plans did not come to fruition. And so this is basically where the railway finished up. And you see it's a very, very pretty spot, which is why, you know, we have tourism. And over there is Valentia Island. And here we have another one of the cable markers, because of course this is where the first cable left from, was just over there in Valencia, and the cable station is over there, those buildings. So we might get to have a look at those later when I get over the water. And here we have the map, which shows what the station used to look like in terms of its plan. You can see where the car park is there. You are here at the monument, and yeah, so that's basically what it looked like originally. And there's the old Valencia Harbour sign, and then there's this lovely stone thing here with this metal sculpture from 2010, and it basically just has some information, so I'll hold this here so you can see it. Over here by the boats, you might be able to see we have some old rail chairs which actually say on them Great Southern and Western Railway, and they're obviously used as weights and things like anchors or tie downs or whatever. And there's another one here which also says Great Southern and Western Railway on it, so that's very cool. So these are original Valencia line rail chairs as well, and these are sections of rail, so who knows, they could be original sections as well. There's quite a few of them, so that's very cool. So as you can see, over there is where the old station was, and we're at the end of where you can walk along by where the car ferry goes. But the water here at Renard is very, very clear, and it's always very cool to see. I'm not going to walk down these steps in case I fall in, but as you can see all the way to the bottom, and there is in fact a group of fish swimming around. I don't know if you can see them. I'll try to zoom in, but there they are, look. There's maybe 4 or 5 there just swimming around. It's a very beautiful place, and you know, I'm hoping that the tourists that would be using my railway would have come down to the railway here and then gone on towards Waterville if that railway had been built, as it is fictionalised in my fake geography and history of my Coireán railway. So we're going to go get the ferry now and go over to Valencia. So we're now leaving Renard Point and we're going over to Valencia on the ferry. So I'm going to take you to that camera. As you can see, the water is pretty clear, although it's out of focus. Hang on. As you can see, the water's pretty clear anyways, yeah. You said there is an RNLI boat over there, that's the Valencia lifeboat. That's looking back over towards Renard. Get a better view of where the railway ended, and as you can see, there's the big mountains in the back that the railway used to skirt as it came down from Kells towards Kerseveen. See our wake there. There's the RNLI boats, and you've got Valentia Island in the background. Over there is Knightstown, the Royal Hotel. Over here we have some cormorants. They're usually here. They're all just waiting around, ready to go down and catch some fish. Over there are the cable headquarters. And over there you can see it's the pretty little Galway girl. And there we are, having departed the ferry. We are now on Valentia Island. So here on Valencia they have another one of these cable walk maps, and we have the cable station over there, and this is where we got off the ferry here. You can see there's the Royal Hotel, and then there's the Slate Yard over there. And so Knightstown, I think, was kind of the architect of this was Alexander Nimmo, asked by the Knights of Kerry to design the town or whatever to help, because obviously they had the Valencia slate mine here. And the Knights of Kerry had their house at Glanliam, so they have a garden up at Glanliam House, and that's off by the lighthouse. And you can see then, you know, that's what this area, the plan of what this area of Valencia looks like. So this is the Royal Valencia Hotel, built in 1833. It was known as the Valencia Hotel and then Young's Hotel. And it wasn't until 1869, when Prince Arthur, the son of Queen Victoria, came to stay, that it took on the name of the Royal. And it looks out over
a rather spectacular view. So that's, I guess, why it was probably quite popular. But maybe I could run a royal train on my layout one day. There's royals coming to visit Kerry, and we have a very nice little display here of the Coast and Cliff rescue cart. Although you can't see it because the sun's so strong, but yeah, it's pretty cool. There's a little information about it. So over there behind me is the Valentia Island Knightstown clock, which is a four-faced clock built in the late 1800s, although put out of commission in 1922. And I'll just kind of film a little bit of footage to show you it, but it's quite iconic. It's a sort of like a nice focal point on the harbour front here in Knightstown, and it's pretty cool, and it still has an original kind of bell inside it as well. So I'll get a little bit of music on and film a little bit for you to see kind of close up, because there's lots of people walking around and I don't really want to get in their way too much with talking over them while they're trying to look at the clock. Down below the clock on the seafront we have this sort of secret passage, obviously part of the drainage of the little town, but you can see it's made with these big proper sort of slate slabs, and they always have sort of like sort of patterns in them as well, which is very cool, and they go all the way back up there underneath the Royal, presumably, or underneath the street. Nothing coming out of it today, at least, but very cool. Obviously it was a well built little harbour, and I'm just down here on the stones now. And here we have some sort of, does look a bit like coal. I wonder if they could come in useful for anything modelling wise. So this is the first transatlantic cable arrival point. As you can see, we're just here at the end of Knightstown. So in 1857, USS Niagara and HMS Agamemnon failed to lay the first telegraph cable from Whitestrand, Cair Sabine to Heart's Content. And then, oh look, 4th of August, it's my birthday. But basically, they finally managed to get it brought ashore in 1858. And so on the 16th of August 1858, the first official transatlantic cable communication between Europe and America was sent from Valentia Island to Heart's Content. This plank marks the site on the shore end of the cable, and this is it. This is where the first transatlantic message was sent and came in. And there's a big old wall here. But there you go. Messages went out across the Atlantic from this point right here in 1858. So this is the lifeboat hut that was established in 1864 at Brennan Point, and then in 1869 it was just dismantled and brought over to Valencia and erected here. It's very cool with these sort of railway architecture style, kind of the arches and things over the windows. And there's like an old slipway over here as well, because we're actually behind the modern R&I lifeboat station. Now, if you're hungry on Valencia, there are a few spots that you can go to, like the Royal Valencia, where you can pop in for some hot food or some chips and a pint. But we were on the move, so we stopped in at the Watch House. Now, we got there in the morning, it was lovely and sunny, and we had some amazing sausage rolls, because they do some of the best sausage rolls around. But you've got to be quick, because they do sell out. But they were fantastic, yes, delicious. Now, also on Valencia, the home of Maud Jane Delap, obviously a very important marine biologist, and also has the McGill's red beer named after her. In 1847, in the year of the Great Famine in Ireland, the manager of Valencia's slab company laid on the public water supply at this spot for the benefit of those passing through the village of Knightstown. A trough was also nearby which was used to water the animals. The inscription translated reads, "With compliments of Valencia Slab Company, 1847. And up the hill there are actually some pumps over there. And then there's also this big anchor. Built in 1890 by T. Roydnance of Liverpool, wrecked on the 23rd of November 1910 near Valencia, this anchor was recovered from the wreck in the summer of 1971 by the following crew. And so this is the four-masted sailing bark Crompton, its anchor. And if I stand back here, I get a sense of the scale. And if I turn that, you see it is actually pretty big. And here is the old slate yard where they used to process some of the slate and store it before sending it on. And there's another one of these cable things as well. And here we have the RNLI John and Margaret Doig, or otherwise the Valencia lifeboat. So this is the RNLI lifeboat that you can normally see moored up in the harbour here in Valencia. Normally it's actually kind of off of this when we come down, but today it's actually moored up, so I'm bringing you along here to see it. Well, you can't go inside the lifeboat, Charlie, unfortunately. But there it is. Brilliant. Right there, ready to go to save some lives. And that is the headquarters of the cable company on Valentia Island, which is now a museum to the history of the laying of the transatlantic cable. Now we're returning to the mainland. I should probably get back to doing some modelling, so let's get back to the railway route, shall we? Right, so one of the next steps we need to do is to paint up the tunnel portals so they don't look quite so plasticky. So I've got some paint brushes here in this jar. It's just off the screen while I get some kitchen paper to put down, because they are resting in some white spirit. So just give them a mix and drain off. I'll just pop those over there. So I've got some brushes and I've got some paints, and I've got some bottle caps for mixing paints if I want to, and I've got some stirrers, and I kind of want to make them a sort of browny greyish mix of different coloured stone. So what I think I'll do is I'll paint the top parts first and the edges, and then I can place them down, but we'll see how it goes anyways. And the idea is that nothing looks one single solid colour. So I'm going to open a couple of these up, just give them a shake and see now. It's a bit tough because it's new, I think. It really doesn't want to come off. There we go. Right. Yeah, that looks like a relatively new one. So just get that sludginess, a bit of a mix. I can pop that over there. Right, so we get a brush and use that one. And so I'm actually just going to use the paint that's in the rim of the pot. I'm just going to give it kind of a slate capped kind of look, perhaps. And then go around the edges of this lower set. It doesn't matter too much if I go over, because I'm going to go over the other ones and I want a real blend, a real mix of colours. So that's fine there. I keep going to dip it in the pot, and we'll just run that around there, and I can paint over it when it's dry anyways with another shade, and we'll let some colour go into the where I suppose the mortar would be, those kind of cracks. So just kind of a bit of a random brush across there like that. See, so there we go. That's a sort of slight start to that one, and we'll kind of do the same with this piece. Go with this darker grey at the top, and then brush that along there. And I'll come back when that's dry and do the next colour. Okay, so they look fairly dry now, and you can see they've got this sort of patchy bit where I've coloured over, and that's going to help blend in some different colours. So I'm going to start with this sort of brown shade of brown, obviously, and I get most of my little Revel colour things because you can't really get stuff down here, but I get it from Coireán Hardware. I haven't been in there for a while, so I don't know if they still haven't. They probably do, but down the back of the shop they just have this little bit where I can get paints, and it's really great having somewhere like, because I can just, when I go into town, say I need to do some shopping or whatever, and I go into Coireán to get something, I can go to there if I run out of paint and get some. So it's really handy having at least one place around here where I can get it without having to order it in. So it's kind of like just, you know, invaluable really when it comes to actually doing this kind of stuff. So I've got a brown shade here, and I'm going to take a slightly finer brush than the last one and just make sure it's clean. Do a bit of painting onto like random bits, and I'm just going to sort of add a bit on here and there, and I'll probably end up sort of layering up some of the colours. So it's all about building up the colour, really. Right, so we'll come back to that when I have the paint dry and I can do the next layer. Right, well that's dry now, and you can see how they're looking. I'm not sure which colours I'm going to go for next. I think I might just be able to tone it down at first with a bit of black that's kind of washed out a bit. So I'm going to take the black, give it a shake. This is a brand new tin of matte as well. So should be then pretty much done, I'd say. I can put them to one side and grab something else to paint. So moving on, one of the challenges we have to do is to add some windows to this old Engage kit. So they're going to be glued in like these windows. There's a bit of street still stuck on the bottom of this from the previous layout. So this is going to be the street side, and I probably want to paint those doors in a bit better. The rear of it, I'm thinking of going with white, so it will look a bit more like the Butler Arms, even though I'm not really modelling it. So this will have to be painted white, I suppose, and then I've got some old window frames. There should be enough here. How many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 6, 12. Yeah, so I should have enough. Whether I can add in something to change the front of this to make it look like there's the fisherman's bar, I'm not certain just yet, but we can work on the other side anyways, and I can look into it, thinking maybe if I cut a section away or something, and just had kind of like a window, and then just stuck a bit of card that says the fisherman's bar. But we'll see. Maybe I won't do anything, or maybe I could just add it above the door or something, just to add in a little extra sort of reference, even if it's not obviously going to be a prototypically accurate model of a building. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find some white paint. So we have some white paint. I've decided that I'm going to do the windows in matte 56, which is a nice shade of blue, and that's just from my personal preference. It's not necessarily strictly accurate to anything, I just like this shade of blue. I've used it in my modelling before, and yeah, I just like it. And so I'm going to use it because, you know, it's my model. And I'm going to paint them while they're on the sprue, and hopefully that will make it easier to do, because I can just hold this like this. And they are now painted, and they can be left to dry. So it's a case of just waiting for things to dry now. So we've got a small splodge of blue paint on the top of the roof. Rub that off. And there's a lot of excess white here. And just dab off. I might have to go over with another coat of white when this is dry, but we'll see how it dries anyways. It's like a ghost building at the moment. Ooh, right. So I have got my windows painted and the rear of that painted, and the tunnel portals drying as well. So hopefully when that's all dry, I can stick these windows in and pop some things back on the railway, I suppose. So the white paint is now dry, and I think it seems to have come out quite well. Obviously the doors will need painting, but I'm going to see if I can get the windows fitted next. So I've got to cut them from the sprue. So I'll just go and cut them now. There, right, that's the last of them. Okie dokie. So we have the windows, and now we're going to have to fit them to the inside of here. So I'm going to need some glue. So this is the sort of Humbrol poly cement that you normally use for sort of airfix kits. And I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm just going to have to sort of squirt it inside roughly where the windows are going to go, and then hopefully get the windows into those positions. What I'll do is I'll squirt a load of glue in there, and then I'll use a stirrer or something to kind of spread it around so it's not going to come out of the window hole. I don't want the aperture to look all messy like. Right, so that's in there, and we get a stick, and we're just going to rub the glue into a better position around each window, and then very fiddlily attempt to fit the windows into the holes and hope that they fit well and they don't get stuck on any flash or any thickness caused by the paint. Phew, that is strong glue, that one. It's probably best to do this in a ventilated environment. To see if I've got a tweezers. Right, I have a tweezers, so I'm going to see if I can pick up the windows by the inside of the frames. And we're going to go and pop them in. Except this won't hold them right. So we're going to go and pop that in like that. And hope that it will stay. Except it won't, because the tweezers are stuck inside the window. Okay, that's not good. Just try and get that first down. Fiddly business, this. Just want to hold it a bit and let go. So I don't want to get my fingers covered in glue. Right, that's one window in. So we see if we can get the rest of them in. So now we have those all in place, and I could just add a spot of glue here and there just to make sure that they're not going to come off. Now they're all in place. A little bit here and there. There we go. Right, so the next job is just to put a little bit more paintwork on the doors. Right, so that is the doors painted, and hopefully they'll dry looking all right. It's difficult enough trying to do it in N scale because it's quite small. I have noticed that there is some paint on the roof, which I need to... I'm going to have to paint it, obviously. I might paint the roof anyways in just a brush of sort of dark grey. But that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it for this episode, I think, with this row of buildings, because I need them to dry. By the end of the episode. But I think that's looking a lot better now than just brown with no windows or anything. So that's good. And hopefully they will glue in place. I know that one or two of the windows, like this one here, are sort of slightly on the wonk. But I think it looks alright. I think it looks good. And, you know, it'll be viewed at a distance over here, say, and like the railway will be over here. So hopefully that has worked out well, but we'll see when I put things back on the railway. Right, so while we wait for that final building to dry, we can actually have a look now at the layout. The green has finally dried out completely. It's not perfect, it's a bit patchy, but it will do as a base layer to some scenics. Obviously there'll be some grey areas where the roads are, and the tunnel portals have dried, and I actually think they look really good, so I'll give you a close-up of that in a minute.
and then I'll just test place them into where they're going to go, and then the next episode I can start to get them glued down, maybe get some grass scattered down just as a base for other foliage layers or whatever. So the first thing to do really is to take off this masking tape, and hopefully the railway will still work perfectly fine once I've done that. So I'm going to take up the tape, I'll show you the tunnel portals, and then we can kind of put things back where they should be and make sure it runs. Put this here and just peel that off. There's no dirt on there, sadly. If there was any dirt, it might peel it up with it, but it's protected them anyways. And I managed to avoid getting paint on the masking tape mostly as well, so that's pretty good going. I'll leave these up for now. I can take them down afterwards, I suppose. I just move some stuff there out of the way, and I will show you the tunnel portals. So this is the rear tunnel portal, and this one is the one that will be on the front, and I think they've turned out really well, considering what some of the stonework looks like round here, and like when you're passing the old railway architecture on the way down from, say, Colorglin down towards Caersabine, and you see all these little culvert bridge things and stuff. Yeah, so that's worked out exactly how I wanted it to for once. So I'm going to test fit these now to the tunnel area and hope that they fit still. Okay, right. So we're going to take this portal and we're going to pop it down there. It still sort of fits. These ones will have to be like pushed really far into the corner, I'd say. I'll probably fix them with maybe some hot glue or something just to keep them in position. And obviously behind here we're going to need to do some scenic work because there's a bit of a gap here. Maybe I could put down a blob of like hot glue and then cover it with glue or something and then scatter over the top. And then we have the tunnel portal that goes in the back, slots in over there, and I'll get close-ups in a second. And obviously you'll see if we get some trains running, you'll get to see them as the trains go around. And I'm hoping now that the green is there, it'll look a bit more convincing once I put the scenery back. But yeah, obviously we're nowhere near finished with the scenery. Yeah, it's got that kind of mixed stone and weather worn look, hopefully. And I may add a little bit more. I did a very, very faint bit of black work to the top, but I think I might have to do a little bit more while I'm locking down the paper. Right, let's get some buildings back on the railway then. So there we have it. The buildings are set up on the Coireán layout once again, and I have the tunnel portals in the corner just resting there, and I have the buildings that we painted earlier on there. I've put the cafe at the top of the hill, and I've brought down this grey building because I'm thinking maybe I could paint it white, and then you'd have more of that Butler Arms continuation. Obviously, it's not an accurate representation of the place, but just for the feel of things, maybe. And yeah, maybe I could just put like the Fisherman's Bar, a sign above one of the houses over there. So yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. Obviously, the brewery needs to be built soon, so I can work out exactly where that yard's going to go and how the village green's going to fit in. I've got platforms to build, and I've got to put some CIU transfers on this van as well. I've got this little Engage platform here, and then I need to get grey paint to do the road and start on the scenics and build the platform and everything. So let's see if a train will run. I've given the rails a quick wipe, and I've given the locomotive a little oil. Stuck on a frog though. I've not run these trains in a little while, so they might be a bit stiff at first. And I should get this little thing going a bit fast over the points at the rear of the layout. They are quite close together, and this is a short wheelbase. There we are, zipping around. So I'm going to get some footage of that running, and you can see it going through the tunnel portals, and it's starting to come together now. Right, we'll just stop that in the station there now. Ooh. Right, well, I think that's all we've got time for this episode of Coireán. So thank you very much for joining me. As you can see, it's looking a lot better than it was. These bits around the edges here where I stopped the paint going, they've given me a bit of an idea that maybe in future I could have a back scene if I could paint something that looks like the mountains on the other side of the lake, because we'd have the Atlantic on this side, obviously. Helps frame the scene a bit more. Originally I wasn't too fussed about it, but seeing it like this, at least maybe having a bit, I mean, even if it's just only the back or even those two sides, so you'd have two viewing sides, I think it could look quite good, but we're a long way off of that. So that's it, I guess. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, you can like, you can comment, you can share, and you can also subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let me know what you think about whether I should paint this building white. Whether I'll have done it or not, I don't know. I'll think about it. I've got to paint that splodge on the roof, which has got white. But until next time, you've been a wonderful audience. I've been a wonderful Alex. Join us again in Coireán, where hopefully we'll have, well, something else built or gone on in the next episode. Well, ta-ra. Oh, and don't forget, there's also the subscribe bubble and the playlist thing. I'm going to find a different trait to run.